Hi, guys. Come on in. Jane. Putentang. Love that name. Thank you for being a member. Hi, Tammy. How are you? Edith? Good, you guys. I'm hanging in there. Let me shut my music off. I am doing this podcast style today because I got a lot going on that I am trying to pay attention to. So, welcome, everybody. We're going to give it a few minutes. I don't know how these notifications work. I was told if someone subscribed to my channel, like for instance, a Summer Wells video that I did, that because there's a child in the thumbnail, that you can subscribe, but you won't get notifications. And I don't know if that's true or not. I'm trying to figure it out. Hi, Dara, another member, my Earth Angel. How are you? All right, I'll check my Discord after the stream. Jane, thank you. Hi, Donna. Oh, I better see. Let me open my YouTube and see if I can see this on here. Hang on a second. Give me 1 second, guys. I am not real technology savvy, and I'm trying to open this on YouTube. There it is. Guys, I am not real technology savvy, and I'm trying to open this on Can you tell? YouTube. Okay, hang on. Let me turn this down. Turn this down here. Hi, guys. Cat H, hi. Hey, baby. How you doing out there on the couch? Hi, Kat. Welcome to all the members. I am going to be doing a member live spirit box session next weekend. So if you guys can let me know either in Discord or maybe I'll put up a poll on the community tab for if Saturday or Sunday would be better for you guys. Because I'm not sure. Okay, I can see the chat. Cat H or one of the mods, do you know how to drop a link for my join button into the chat? If you guys know how to do that, it's in the description of this video, and it's also under the about section of my channel. If anyone can figure out how to drop that occasionally into the chat, I would appreciate it. I just have no idea. Hi guys, 52 in here. Deb says, also from Arizona. Hello, neighbor. It's getting hot here already. I'm not ready. Jane can't see community tab on your mobile phone. Okay. Well, if anyone could figure that out, I would appreciate it. Hi, yes, good morning. You know, this kid, Daniel, I've been out here every weekend, maybe -4 weekends since June when he went missing. We're going to talk about Daniel, some of our searches. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Well, hello, Cheryl. Good to see you here. Scotland is in the house. Hello, Scotland. I have another friend in Scotland, Suze. She'll probably be here. She'll watch it later. Hi, Suze. All right. I want to talk about Daniel because some more information came out. And if you don't know about Daniel Robinson, he is a geologist here in Arizona. I'm not going to be looking at chat for just a second, guys. Hang on a second. So he's 24 years old. He's a geologist. He worked out here in the Arizona desert. He would go to remote locations in the desert to check wells and well water, test well water. He went to work apparently the morning of June 23rd and showed up at a remote location. There was another gentleman there from a different company. His name was Ken Elliott. He was from Weber, a company called Weber. Daniel actually works for Matrix New World or Matrix Groundwater. So it was two different companies that met out there that day. Daniel talked to this coworker, Ken, for just a few minutes, said some things about being tired and wanting to take a nap. And for some odd reason, just got in his car and started driving out into the desert. There's some strange things about this case. I have done a spirit box session asking the spirit realm about Daniel, and we did get some answers, and nothing about that spirit box session said that he was dead or had died. So at this time, I'm not going to go there because I don't believe that just yet, although we did get some good information, and we'll look at that in a minute. So Daniel talks to this guy about being tired, wanting to take a nap, drives out into the desert, and after a while, Ken starts wondering, where is Daniel? After 3 or 4 hours, he decides to try to follow Daniel's tracks into the desert, and he can do this because it had been raining. So he says the rain washed away a lot of the tracks, but he could see some tracks that he kind of followed until he lost the tracks. He was never able to find Daniel. So when I did a spirit box session asking about Daniel, let me share my screen. Let's see. See if I can share this. Okay. Here's some of the things that we recorded in the spirit box session. And I'm not going to play the session. These are just kind of this is the wrap up at the end, of course. Sorry about this. I'll skip it in 1 second. So some of the things that we recorded in the session just don't lead me to believe that he's dead. And he talked about the rain, and it was raining that day. And we also had 3 really hard rains in the 3 weeks before his vehicle was found. His vehicle wasn't found till 3 weeks after he went missing. So some of the things that the spirit box session was talking about, that place, done, hidden, surprising, it said. I left because I'm pissed off. I think that's what it says. I'm done. Okay, so none of this so far makes me think there's anything nefarious involved. I failed and I can't go back, right? Turtle Road is a clue I don't understand yet. They're coming, see him? Maybe he set somebody up to come get him. I just don't know. Fought, damn it, terrible. Kit gone. Be careful, you were hunted, right? Come back. A Jeep. He had a Jeep. That's what he was driving that day. talked about mud. Dad, there was mud that day because, of course, it was raining, right? Important. Dad, this is important. We talk. Clear your mind. Again, doesn't necessarily mean he's passed. Tell Dad it's him. Tell him it's him. Hear him. Tell him bare footprint. Well, all his clothes were found, including his shoes, by his vehicle 3 weeks later. Tell him all he's right. Who's right? Is Dad's right? Find him. So none of that to me says, or screams that he's already passed, right? What are your guys' thoughts so far? I know a lot of you already kind of have opinions that maybe, there was something nefarious that came, was done to him, or somebody did something to him. Come out of her. She tells what he told her. He was chosen. Who has come out of her? That wouldn't happen to be Caitlin, would it? I'm writing stuff down, you guys. I really need your help on this. We're going to go over a lot here. So come out of her. Is that a YouTube channel, Maria? Hi, Suze. I was looking for you. I knew you'd be here. Another fellow from Scotland, fellow friend. Yeah, I just would like to know, is this come out of her? Is that a YouTube channel? She tells what he told her. He was chosen. I need to know more about that. And yeah, I need to know more about that. Let me go back and look at the dates she posted, though. She mentioned there are several people underground doing this to people. And who's she? Is that a channel name? Is that on Instagram? Yeah, just when you get a chance, if you can give me more information. Somebody said, no, she's a new channeler. She hasn't brought anything new. Oh, is she a psychic? Okay, so yeah, no, we're going to talk about facts today. But I am going to give that a look-see. I've written it down. Come out of her. Okay, perfect. You guys, thank you. On YouTube. I am going to try to look that up in a little bit. Have you guys seen the police report that came out? The information that's in the police report kind of was shocking to me, actually. You feel like he's very near the monastery that I went to? Yeah. Yeah, we're going to talk about some monasteries, actually. And I'm wondering, well, I'll ask you that later, you guys. Let me share my screen for this. Hang on one second. This police report is also missing some information. You got to remember, I've been searching with the family. I talk to David Robinson all the time, Daniel's father. We have mapped out locations of some mines in the area, vertical mines that need to be checked. And it's a little bit different when you're working on a case. Actually, Reverend Donna Serafina and I had communicated via email, and she mentioned that she had sent David Robinson a message on, I don't remember, Twitter or Instagram, saying that she was offering her services for free, and he never answered her. So I did ask him if he would take an hour, out of his busy day to talk with Reverend Donna Serafina, and he said his religious beliefs will not allow him to do that. And so he's not going to be doing that, unfortunately. Let me see if I can find this. Hang on one second. Oh, can't I share my screen? Oh, maybe I can't. All right, give me a second. I'm going to see if I can pull this up a different way. That's the screen I want to share. All right, let me try one more thing, guys. Hang on for me. Thank you for being patient, by the way. This police report is let me see if I can pull it up on here. Well, it's not going to let me share the police report that I need to share, but I can always read it to you, so maybe I'll just do that. I can post it, a link to it on my community tab later, because I'm not sure what to do. So the police report, yeah, why won't it let me show? I guess because I'm not on here. That's disappointing because, oh, here. Let's try that. Okay. It's not sharing. Is it? No. Wow. Oh, there it is. Okay. Can you guys see this police report? I hope you can. All right. All right. So the police report, let me go back here. No, I think you guys can see it. You say yes. Okay. There's like a 10-second delay before I ask a question and I actually see an answer. So there's some missing information in the police report as well, and we'll go over that. And we're not going to go over this whole report, guys. It's 54 pages long. Other creators have already went through the whole thing. If you want to go through it word for word, I spent a lot of time going through it and kind of pulled out some of the most important parts. So here they start talking about the guy from Weber that Daniel met at the job site. His name is Ken Elliott. And here it says, I spoke with Ken on the phone. Ken advised that Daniel arrived at the site around 9:00 a.m. It was raining. Ken said Daniel was saying things that didn't make sense, like asking if Ken wanted to go rest, and then asking if he wanted to go to Phoenix to rest. So he makes it sound like Daniel was asking Ken, do you want to go rest with me? Or go rest? Like, I'm not understanding that, the wording. Ken advised Daniel was not making sense with things that he was saying, and he was talking about things that didn't make sense. See, so this police report sometimes doesn't make sense. Ken said Daniel was there for 15 minutes and suddenly left. Okay, so apparently Daniel was talking something about resting and taking a nap, right? I thought I highlighted some stuff here. Yeah, okay. Sorry, guys, make you dizzy with that. Ken said at approximately 1500 hours, which would have been, 3 p.m., he was made aware that Daniel had not been located and had not responded to any text or calls from work or family. Ken said he started to drive into the desert to find Daniel. Ken said that the road to their site runs north and south, and if you head south, it comes to a T intersection. And if you go east, you go back to Sun Valley Parkway, where he'd come from. But he could see that Daniel's tire marks went westbound and that intersection leads to an extremely large desert area. Ken said that he drove down the road trying to locate Daniel, but was unable to. Here it actually says an officer spent hours trying to locate Daniel, right? That they actually drove around the area as well. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of this, okay? I can't see the chat right now, you guys, because I'm on a different screen. So Daniel's employer is Matrix Groundwater. I've also read it to be Matrix New World. So I don't know if those are two separate entities or if they're just getting it confused. David reported, this is David talking about David Robinson, Daniel's father, reported Daniel had no medical issues, but had been acting strange. So David's father did mention that something was up, right, with Daniel, and that Daniel drives a light blue 2017 Jeep Renegade. So apparently there was a girl named Caitlin that's involved in this story. On the 12th, I believe around the 12th of June, so right before Daniel disappeared, he disappeared June 23rd. June 12th, Daniel apparently had a second job as an Instacart delivery person. Instacart is a service where you can order groceries or alcohol be delivered to your house. So that's how this Caitlin ends up into the story. She ordered some stuff from Instacart, and Daniel was the one that showed up to deliver whatever she ordered. It says so we're going to talk about Caitlin too. Here the police officers talking about Kenneth still. I became aware that Kenneth believed Daniel was acting odd at the job site and that he last saw Daniel drive away from the site going south. Additionally, Kenneth reported he was not sure if Daniel made it to the said split in the roadway on the dirt trail. Kenneth advised after some time after he began looking around the area and that at the split in the roadway, he found what looked like fresh tire tracks, which went west at the split in the road. So he probably could have been able to see those pretty good, especially if it was raining. It was probably a little muddy. Daniel has a sister that lives out here in Arizona. Her name is Davisha, and she actually lives in Phoenix. This officer contacted Davisha, Daniel's sister. He asked the sister if Daniel was having any medical issues or mental health issues that she knew of. She said no. The father said no. David said he was not aware of any medical issues, but yes, he'd been acting odd. Daniel's father, David, stated within the last few weeks, Daniel had told him he had met a woman and that he was in love with her. Okay, well, that's true, because if they didn't meet till the 12th, that was only a few weeks, right? I asked David if he had ever observed Daniel doing or say anything that would suggest he would want to hurt or kill himself. David advised he had not. I asked David if Daniel uses any drugs, such as marijuana, cocaine, methamphetamines, etc. He said he was only aware of Daniel using only marijuana. David also said Daniel does have an Instagram account and a Facebook account. Now, here's what's interesting, you guys. I'm going to look at the chat after this. David checked them while he was on the phone with me and advised he did not see any new information on either account, but said Daniel's photos on his Instagram account appear to have been removed since he had gone missing. So that's interesting, for one, because Caitlin also has an Instagram account. And Daniel's photos on his Facebook, nothing had changed, only on Instagram. So it's weird that he says Daniel's photos on his Instagram account appeared to have been removed since he had gone missing. David said the photos were on Daniel's Instagram account prior to him going missing. So I'm going to come back to the chat for a minute. What do you guys think so far just about his dad saying maybe he was acting a little strange. Ken Elliott saying that there was maybe some strange things going on. Yeah, Daniel's family needs prayers. David is an amazing guy, and he actually has a YouTube channel, Daniel's dad, and he he sings on there like karaoke. He's very handsome. He's a very good singer, and he's a very nice man in person for sure. Yeah, Caitlin. We're going to talk more about the Caitlin. Somebody said a man hurt him. We are sure praying for him to be found. We sure are. That's for sure. And what I've said this before, what's terrible is when somebody goes missing, if you're under the age of 18, there's certain things that law enforcement does. If you're over the age of 65, there's certain things that law enforcement does. But if you're between the ages of 18 and 65, you're allowed to disappear if you want to. You're allowed to not talk to your family if you want to. There's a TikToker kid I was just watching. He's been gone, I don't know, disappeared 2 years ago, and he's making TikTok saying, I don't want to be found, leave me alone. Like, it happens, right? And it is kind of our right to privacy. So Daniel's family, has really not gotten a lot of help from law enforcement, that's for sure. So anyone who has access to Instagram via the password can delete the pictures, right? So somebody else could have deleted that stuff too, right? Have any of the moderators figured out how to drop a join link into the chat, or is it not working? Is anyone on a computer where they can do that? I'm just wondering. Right? He seems so responsible. I mean, he went to college, he graduated, Yeah. So we're going to continue reading. I'm going to bring this back up here again. Hang on one second. Let me find it. Okay. So it says, David, Daniel's father, told me Daniel does have an Instagram. Okay, Instagram photos were deleted. Okay. I asked David if he'd ever met the woman that Daniel had recently told him about. David said no, he hadn't met her. I asked if David knew her name or had any information about her, and David said her name is Caitlin and that he was able to locate her Instagram account. So that is redacted. I cannot see her Instagram account. It just says Caitlin Ann's, whatever her last name. So it's Caitlin Ann something. Her account shows an image of her holding a dog, and the police officer was able to find that Instagram account. So now the officer is calling Devisha. Devisha is Daniel's sister that lives in Phoenix. Devisha confirmed that Daniel lives alone in Tempe, Arizona. So that is quite a ways, 36, I don't know, miles, 40 miles from where the job site was out on my side of town over here near Buckeye, Arizona. He lives in Tempe. But she said Devisha confirmed Daniel lives alone in Tempe, and she lives in Phoenix. Devisha said Daniel used to live in Phoenix, but has been living at his current address for about the last year. So I informed Devisha that David and Kenneth reported Daniel was acting odd to them. And the information they reported about this, I asked Devisha if she had any knowledge of Daniel acting odd. Devisha said once Daniel came over to her apartment and would just sit there for about 30 minutes and wouldn't say anything. She said she tried to talk to him, but he would just sit there and not respond. And then he just got up and walked out of the apartment. So she didn't say how long ago this was before he went missing. She also said that Daniel told her this woman told him about an audio podcast to listen to, and that upon listening to it, it changed the way he looked at life. Guys, this is critical. And I have been, and I'm going to ask again, if Caitlin Ann sees this, can you please message me on Facebook, send me a message on YouTube. You can email me afterliferesearch1111@gmail.com. I really need to know what this podcast was about. What was in this podcast that Daniel told his sister changed the way he looks at life? I really need to know what that podcast is, guys. I believe that is a critical key, honestly, to figuring out this case. So this podcast, yeah, I really need to know what this podcast said. Daniel told her the podcast showed him how to view things in the world in a positive energy and to avoid negative energy. Davisha said he told her he was in love with this woman and ultimately made it sound as if they were in a relationship together. I asked Davisha if the female's name was Caitlin, and she said she believed so. I asked if Davisha was aware of Daniel using any drugs. Davisha said she was only aware of Daniel using marijuana and drinking alcohol. Davisha did confirm that it appeared Daniel's photos were all taken off his Instagram account. So again, we're going to get into a timeline. First, it was said after he disappeared, they went missing. The pictures were gone, but then down a little further, it said maybe 2 days before everything was deleted. So, Davisha, the sister, said one time Daniel drove out to California to see their sister and didn't tell anyone he was doing that. Oh, thank you to whoever just donated that PayPal $20. Joyce, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Davisha said one time Daniel drove out to California to see their sister and didn't tell anyone he was doing that. I asked Davisha when David drove out to California and to see the sister, and Davisha said it was around 5/30/2021, so in May, two months or so before he went missing. So the officer goes on to contact Kevin, who also worked at this New World Matrix Global Water, or whatever there's two different names for the company. They keep saying is his company, Matrix New World or Matrix Global Water. The officer contacts Kevin, who works with Daniel. Kevin advised since Daniel has been missing, he has not heard from Daniel, and that no one in the company has received any contact from him. Kevin said this was unlike Daniel, as he had never done anything like this before while working for the company. Kevin said Daniel did not show up to work today, 6/24, which was the following day. He did have a shift, and he never showed up. So the officer calls this guy Kenneth back. After all, Kenneth Elliott was the last person to see Daniel. The officer calls Kenneth back and says, could you please tell me what happened again? Just re-explain everything. So Kenneth said they drove out to the job site, he in his vehicle and Daniel in his Jeep. So what does that mean? He wasn't already at the site and Daniel got there? Or was Daniel at the site when he got there? Or they met off Sun Valley Parkway and drove there together? Like, there's always missing information, right? Kenneth explained to me over the phone the location of how they got to the location, which matches images. They got to the job site at 9:30, so it's about 9:30 a.m. Kenneth said when they got to the job site, at times he noticed Daniel appearing to stare off into the distance or would just be staring at nothing in particular. Kenneth said Daniel would talk to him at times, but it was regarding topics that were not related to the work they were there to do. Kenneth said this was odd to him, to Kenneth. Well, maybe, but Kenneth had never met Daniel before. I don't know. According to Kenneth, he recalls Daniel asking him, do you want to go home? Do you want to go back to Phoenix? What? Do you want to go home? Do you want to go back to Phoenix? But in the last statement, Kenneth said he was asking him if he wanted to go rest. So, I mean, every time you talk to someone, you get different wording, right? Kenneth said at that time it appeared it was going to rain. Kenneth said he told Daniel he would check the weather application on his cell phone. Kenneth stated that as he began to look at the weather application on his cell phone at about 9:45, he saw Daniel wave to him as if he was waving goodbye. Kenneth said Daniel didn't say anything, walked over to his Jeep, and drove away from the area. So they got there at 9:30, and by 9:45, Daniel was driving away from the job site. So he was only there 15 minutes, which is weird. Kenneth said Daniel didn't say anything, walked over his Jeep, got in, and took off. Okay. Kenneth said Daniel was last seen driving south on the dirt road from the job site. Kenneth explained if Daniel continued south on the dirt road, he would come to the spot where the road splits. He said after Daniel didn't come back, he went looking for Daniel, which we heard earlier. He saw some tire tracks that went west, but then he lost the tracks. So now we come to Caitlin. We're going to talk about Caitlin. Not that that's good or bad. We're just going to go over Caitlin. I'm coming back to the chat for a minute, you guys. Yes, creating a storyline around Daniel. Oh, they are. Oh, yeah. Daniel got a call to meet the brother. Are you talking about a brother of Caitlin? I'm lost now in chat because I was paying attention to other things. Definitely sounds hokey, this whole thing. Does anyone know about if Caitlin has a brother, and how do you know that? I think Kenneth holds the answers. It's not what's there. It's not. Yes. Right. And also, Janine, Kenneth has some ties to a rock company, and involved with mines and things. And like I said, there's a lot of mines, mine adits, mine entrances, vertical shafts out in that area. Like a lot around there. American Meteorite fan, it feels like he was having an episode and it was the perfect storm, the flood, the crash. Yes, the Grubhub girl, right? Yeah, I don't know, you guys. But if anyone has any information about who Caitlin is, how to contact Caitlin, anything, if there's a brother of Caitlin's, please email me again at afterliferesearch1111@gmail.com. So there's just so much weird stuff in here, you guys. So the officer checks on Caitlin. I checked the name Caitlin and whatever her last name is through the NCIC records, MVD, Buckeye PD. I was able to locate a female named Caitlin and so-and-so with Caitlin's physical characteristics. I tripped on that word. Caitlin's physical characteristics matched the female as the account Caitlin on Instagram. Caitlin's address showed that she lived in Levine. Now, Levine is still not super close to Tempe, which is odd to me. If Daniel's doing Instacart as a second job, you would think it would be around the area that he lived in, but maybe he did it on his way home after checking well sites on this side of town. But anyway, Caitlin lives in Levine. This officer calls Caitlin. Caitlin explained that she and Daniel are not in a relationship and that she has only known him since June 12th, 2021. According to Caitlin, on that day, her and her female friend were at her house, at Caitlin's home, that they ordered food through a service called Instacart. Now, I had heard that they ordered alcohol before, and this says food, so I don't know. Like I said, police reports aren't always 100% right, you guys. We can't always trust everything the police, they're just interpreting things that they hear too, and they're only human, so. Caitlin explained Instacart was a food ordering service similar to Grubhub or Uber. Caitlin said Daniel was very nice, and her female friend asked if he wanted to hang out with them at that time. Caitlin said she and her female friend were drunk, and that looking back on it, she shouldn't have invited a stranger into her home. Caitlin said she believed Daniel was harmless, though, as he only had one arm and he was very short in stature. So, looking back to my group of friends in our younger years, drunk, inviting pizza delivery guys and UPS guys in when they were drunk, things like that. Yeah, I can imagine, in my opinion, there was probably a little flirting going on, little craziness, maybe. What do you guys think? Caitlin advised Daniel and her exchanged phone numbers that night, and she sent him a podcast that he should listen to. Why is this podcast not mentioned anywhere? What was the podcast? This is one of the keys that we need to this case, and I don't know what the podcast was. Caitlin advised nothing else happened that night, which was abnormal or criminal. Caitlin said that night Daniel had a canopy, which he had in his vehicle, which he left at her home accidentally. Now, wait a minute. What's a canopy, you guys? Caitlin said that night Daniel had a canopy, which he had in his vehicle, and he left it at her home accidentally. Well, if he was delivering something for Instacart, even if he went in to hang out with them if they were drunk, why would he take a canopy out of his vehicle? What are they talking about? I don't understand why he would have taken anything out of her vehicle and left it at her house, especially a canopy of some sort. Is he talking about like an easy up? Like, again, we need more information. Caitlin advised a few days after that night, on 6/12, so it would have been a few nights after that, Daniel sent her a text that he had accidentally left the canopy and asked when it was okay for him to come and get it. Caitlin said she sent a text message back to him saying he could come get it anytime. Caitlin advised Daniel sent her another text message saying he could come by right then or tomorrow afternoon. She said he then sent her a text message asking for directions back to her house. Caitlin said she never responded to Daniel as she was out of town at the time. She said while she was out of town, she observed Daniel on her home security camera going up to her door, attempting to make contact and then leaving. Caitlin said that she felt that Daniel should have asked for permission to come over to her home before just showing up there. Well, he kind of did. He said, I can come by right now or I can come by later. And if she didn't answer him, maybe he was already in the area, But it's weird that he asked for directions back to her home and then he showed up there. So obviously he knew how to get back there. Caitlin told me she never provided Daniel with her address or directions to her home, so either he used the Instacart food order information to obtain her address or remembered how to get back. So Caitlin said on 6/16, she sent Daniel a text message advising that she had seen him on her security cameras, but she wasn't home. Caitlin said she told Daniel when she came back in town, she would make arrangements for him to get the canopy. Okay, remember this part, okay? It's important. Caitlin said she told Daniel when she came back into town, she would make arrangements for him to get the canopy. Just remember that. Keep it in the back of your mind. Right, Kathy? I see your message. Yeah, she said come by anytime. Right? And then she said, why'd you show up unannounced? So I don't know. Just something is weird. Caitlin said Daniel became very creepy, sending her a text message with a heart emoji and sending her text message saying that he loves her. Caitlin said one day after this message, he sent her a text that he was outside of her home. Caitlin said it made her very concerned. According to Caitlin, she was unsure why Daniel would fall in love with her so fast or be in love with her because according to Caitlin, she never did or said anything that would make Daniel think she wanted that kind of relationship. Oh, really? Well, what did you tell him when you were drunk with your friend, dragging him in the house and flirting with him and etc.? In my opinion, that's what happened, right? Caitlin said what made her more worried was Daniel was coming over to her home unannounced, even after being told not to. Caitlin said she sent Daniel a message telling him she did not feel comfortable about him coming to her home unannounced and to ultimately stop talking to her. Caitlin sent Daniel her last contact from Daniel was a text message from him on 6/22/21 around 1500 hours. So the last text message she got from Daniel was the day before he went missing around 3 p.m. where he told her she wouldn't see him anymore. Caitlin said she's not heard from him since. I'm coming back to chat for a minute. Right? Have you ever met my friends when they're drunk? Especially when I was younger. I'm older now, but when I was in my 20s and 30s, my friends would get a little crazy. I never drank. I was always the babysitter. Don't do that. Don't go there. Don't go with him. Where's your keys? Let's go home. But my friends were crazy. I'm just saying. She wanted Daniel to go away and he wouldn't go away. So here came the brother to help. Yeah, I keep hearing about this brother. I need to know more if this is Caitlin's brother. Please send me an email, afterliferesearch1111@gmail.com. Do we know that there's a brother for sure? Do we know his name? I haven't been able to watch chat, so I'll go through and read chat, though, when the live is over. Has he ever had a girlfriend before? That's a good question, you guys. I don't know. My super sleuths, I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe I'll ask David. Ra, the creator, is his name Jimmy? I'm writing stuff down to you guys. Caitlin's brother, question mark. No names mentioned. Okay. Thank you, Sue. Appreciate you, Suze. Right, Jane, I was the one sitting in the corner with my back to the wall just watching everyone. That was me, even in my 20s. My friends were all mini skirts and high heels, and I was jeans and t-shirt and back against the wall. Don't know why. It's just the way it was. Thank you, Donna Shaughnessy. I appreciate that. I'm not sure how to say your name. DDD Shaughnessy. I hope I said that right. I love you so much. You're always here. Weren't we fun? Well, tell you what, I was a heck of a designated driver, and I always made sure that my friends got to and from places safely. For sure. Right? All the witnesses state he was acting strangely. It is a red flag, and that's why I feel like we need to know what this podcast was that he listened to. What podcast did she send him, Caitlin? It's important, I think. So here's some of the text messages. Caitlin sent these to the police officer. These are the actual text messages, right? And it's so irritating to me that it says on June 13th, Caitlin sends a link, podcast.apple.com. Caitlin sends a link. We don't know what the link is. We don't know what this damn podcast is. It's driving me crazy, you guys. I really need to know. Sunday, she sends him a link, and Daniel says, hey. That was on the 13th. Apparently, she never answered him because there's no, it's like there's missing text, or I don't know, because Sunday, June 13th at 2:29 a.m., Caitlin sends the link, podcast. So she's sending him a link at 2:29 a.m. in the morning, right? Daniel sees it and says, hey, but she doesn't respond. She doesn't say anything to him. So the next day at 7:19 p.m., he says, hey, I accidentally left my canopy outside your house. Is it still there? If so, is it okay if I pick it up? Still want to know what kind of canopy that is. I don't understand what canopy outside your house, and why would you take anything out of your vehicle when you're over there? I don't get it. He says also the podcast was great. That's important, you guys, right? And she says, yes, you can pick it up whenever, but then she said she was mad that he came over. So Daniel says the podcast was great. Tuesday, June 15th, 1:37 p.m. She says, yes, you can pick it up whenever you want. So he asked, can I pick up the canopy on June 14th at 7:19 p.m.? And she doesn't answer him until 1:30 the next day in the afternoon. Yes, you can pick it up whenever. He said, yes, thanks. How do I get there again? I can come now or tomorrow afternoon. But then she didn't answer him. She just told him, you can pick it up whenever, right? You can pick it up whenever. It says right there. He said, thanks. How do I get there? And her very next text is, hey, I saw you on camera. I'll be home later. If you want, I can put it out by the front door, by the chairs, before I head out tomorrow morning. So Daniel sends her a heart emoji, a red heart. And Daniel says, I'm sorry. Well, what's he apologizing for? So there's stuff that's missing here, because there's just something missing, guys. There's puzzle pieces missing here. He says, how do I get there? She said, I saw you on camera at my house. So obviously he found her place. He said, I'll put it out front by the chairs before I head out. But then at 10:30 p.m., Daniel's saying he's sorry. You're sorry for what? There's missing stuff here, guys. The very next day, that was 10:13 p.m. The next morning, 6:30, she sees the text. She says, please stop showing up unannounced. Well, she just said he could come over whenever to get his canopy. So there's missing information here. There's something Caitlin's not telling us. We don't have all the information for sure. Please stop showing up unannounced. Daniel says, okay, I won't ever again. Caitlin says, thanks. I'm looking right now and don't see the canopy in the garage. Daniel says, don't worry about it. I already have it. So that's confusing too, because up here it said the canopy was left outside her house, right? And suddenly now she's looking for it in the garage. And how would he have gotten it out of her garage if it was in the garage? Because my garage works on a remote and I can't just pull my door open unless I unlatch it from the inside first. There's some confusing things here just about yeah, there's missing information, guys. We definitely don't have the whole story here, right? I'm looking right now. I don't see the canopy in the garage. Don't worry, I already have it. Yeah, so how did he get in her garage to get it? Or was it literally sitting outside? She says, I'm confused. Daniel said, well, I grabbed it yesterday because, as we know, she said you could pick it up whenever. And then she said, I saw you on camera. So that's the day he picked up the canopy, right? I did grab it the other day, the canopy. I just wanted to tell you I'm sorry for disappearing the other day. What? What do you mean disappearing? Daniel said, I did grab it yesterday. I just wanted to tell you I'm sorry for disappearing the other day. At the end of the sentence, he puts a sad face emoji. What do you mean it disappeared the other day? Something happened, you guys. He's apologizing. I'm sorry. He's apologizing for disappearing the other day. What are you talking about? Caitlin, we need more information. Daniel says, I couldn't stop thinking about you. She doesn't answer him. Daniel says, can we hang out? Saturday, 12:44 p.m. About an hour later, she answers him, I'm not home. Daniel says, okay. Midnight, 12:14 a.m. on Sunday. Daniel sends a text to her, I love you. What? She says, come over whenever. She's mad that he came over. He's apologizing for disappearing the other day. Then he says, I love you. That was at midnight on Sunday. She didn't answer him. He says, are you home today? An hour later, she says, honestly, you're showing up at my house unannounced makes me extremely uncomfortable. I will not be home today, but I don't see us hanging out anytime soon. So obviously, Caitlin is getting frustrated with what's ever going on, but there's so much more that we can't see. There's pages missing out of this book. Daniel says, okay, but you see like this. Okay, but do you have any doubt? What does that mean? She says, honestly, you showing up at my house unannounced made me extremely uncomfortable. I will not be home today, but I don't see us hanging out anytime soon. And his response is, okay, but do you have any doubt? What? Either way, I'll have to be okay with your answer. And again, either she never answers him or they talked on the phone. Because there's missing text messages here. Because that was on Sunday and his next text is on Monday. He texts her, how are you feeling? 11:45 a.m. How are you feeling? What do you mean, how are you feeling? Was she sick? Did you guys talk on the phone? There's missing information still. Monday, 3:45 p.m., 3:46. I'm outside of your place. Caitlin says, please stop doing that. I'm not even home. This is not okay. Daniel says, I guess it's not. Caitlin says, not you guess. I've told you this is not okay to come to my home unannounced. Daniel says, are you okay with me? Caitlin says, no. This isn't normal nor acceptable. Daniel says, what is normal? Caitlin says making plans before showing up at someone's home. If someone has expressed that you've made them uncomfortable, you need to back off. Daniel said, do you hate me? Caitlin said, I don't hate you, but please leave me alone. Daniel says, you're right. Daniel's very last text to Caitlin was Tuesday, 3:07 p.m. The world can get better, but I'll have to take all the time I can or we can, whatever, to name it. I'll either see you again or I'll either see you again or never see you again. So that doesn't even quite make sense. The world can get better, but I'll have to take all the time I can or we can, whatever, to name it. What? Maybe that's a typo. What? I'm coming back to chat, guys. She was pretty direct when she got fed up, so she should be direct about what happened in between, because obviously there was other communication and other either phone conversations or something going on that we don't know about. And yes, most of us have been there, right, guys? I mean, I've been on a date where it was like an hour long and the guy already said he was in love with me. So, I mean, it happens, right? It definitely happens. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I've heard that too. Melissa, I don't know. I mean, they said he didn't have any medical issues that they knew about. I mean, the family. You know. Jane, 5-month member of the Earth Angels. I love my Earth Angels. And I think our clubhouse in Discord is pretty cool. Right, like a camping canopy, but why would he take it out of his vehicle? Like, why? And was it outside or was it in the garage? That makes a difference. Like, why would he take the canopy out in the first place? Where did they go? What did they do? I don't understand why he took anything out of his vehicle. I don't get it. Yeah, Cat H, and that's actually at any age, believe me. Just got to be careful what you say to people, because well, they could have been partying under it, maybe. But she said she invited Daniel inside. I invited him in. Me and my friend were drinking. I invited him in. So that still doesn't make sense to me, really. Maybe they did use it. And definitely that's what guys do, right? Oops, I left this at your house. I need to come back now. I get it. Well, not just guys, I guess. Girls do that too. But the interesting part is coming up. So there was a friend of Daniel's named Luke. And he did come out to visit Daniel over that past weekend before he disappeared. He flew in from out of town, hung out with Daniel. Luke said on 6/20/21 he flew back to New York, where he lives. Somewhere it said they hung out. Hang on. Oh, Luke said he does recall Daniel telling him that he was glad he was in town to visit because Daniel had been feeling depressed lately. Luke said Daniel said this to him while they were at a bar. Luke advised Daniel, however, that Daniel didn't tell him why he was depressed or, what he was depressed about. And they talk about the vehicle's ignition system and all that kind of stuff. I'll put a link to this up so you guys can read that if you want to, but so there was another friend named Antonio that was in Daniel's contacts, apparently. This police officer made contact with Antonio. Antonio talked to Daniel on the phone for 17 minutes on 6/16. He said Daniel seemed more hyper than usual and was talking about 2 girls he met while delivering alcohol. See? Delivering alcohol. So it's another thing. Daniel seemed more hyper than usual and was talking about 2 girls he met while delivering alcohol. She said she ordered food. And I'm sure the police can figure out from Instacart what exactly was ordered. Was it food or was it alcohol? There's a difference there, in my opinion, because alcohol is a hell of a drug. It just is. And they were drunk already. So I want to know if it was food or alcohol or both. But this is interesting because Daniel tells his friend Antonio he hooked up with one of the girls. That Daniel didn't have friends here yet and was very social and could be very gullible. So that's important here. Daniel told him he hooked up with one of the girls. You can't tell me that those 2 girls let him in drunk and didn't, there wasn't some shenanigans going on. Caitlin said, I never did or said anything to lead Daniel on, but Daniel's telling people they hooked up. Just tell the truth, Caitlin. We just need to know the truth. If you did, so what? Doesn't give him the right to come by unannounced and be a creepy stalker. But did you or didn't you hook up with him? This police officer calls another friend named Ruben. Ruben advised he spoke with Daniel on 6/22 for about 5 minutes. He lives in Florida. Said he was asking Daniel about vacation spots in Arizona and California, but Daniel seemed down like something was on his mind. Ruben said the conversation was short and he did not know what was wrong. Daniel did not make any statements about hurting himself, but Ruben said Daniel just seemed a little off. He did say Daniel likes to hike and explore, and it's not unusual for him to take off and explore. But it is unusual for him not to stay in contact with people who, his friends and family. That last text to Caitlin again is interesting. With Daniel, the world can get better, but I'll have to take all the time I can, or we can, whatever, to name it. I'll either see you again or never see you again. There's more coming up, guys. The best part is still to come. The best part is still to come. The most interesting part to me, anyway. So the police officer went to Daniel's apartment in Tempe, made contact with Tiffany, who is the manager at Daniel's apartment. I filled her in on some of the basic information about Daniel's disappearance. Tiffany stated that Daniel's family had been there, but she was not able to provide entry to his apartment to them. Wow. I wonder why. Even if they were listed as an emergency contact, she couldn't provide entry to them. She said the Buckeye Police Department had sent Tempe police officers out to check his apartment when Daniel went missing, but they did not make entry, only knocked on the door and received no answer. She advised that Daniel's employer paid his rent that month. So that was nice of him, right? Because as you guys know, if it was towards the end of the month, the 23rd, when he went missing, his rent would have been due on the 1st. So his work paid the next month's worth of rent because, the family had to get there. His possessions are in there. You got to try to figure out what to do. And here in Arizona, you got 5 days. You get a 5-day notice. If you haven't paid your rent in 5 days, you get a 5-day notice. So you better pay a rent or you're evicted. And then you get a 15-day notice to go to court. It happens quick here in Arizona. So it was really nice of his work to pay the rent. Tiffany allowed us to enter the apartment to perform a welfare check. Daniel was not located in the apartment. The common areas of the apartment appeared to be well kept and clean, and no valuables appeared to be missing. There was no indication of foul play and no indication that Daniel had packed or planned a trip. Daniel did not appear to take his computers or valuable items. Daniel's bedroom was a little messy. Oops, I lost my place. Daniel's bedroom was a little messy with clothes and miscellaneous items on the floor. I also observed what appeared to be marijuana blunts left on counters and in various places in the apartment. Detectives exited the apartment and the landlord manager secured the doors and windows. So it looks like here on 7/10, law enforcement had some aircrafts in the air, flying around looking for Daniel. Major Lane advised that the aircraft flew for a few hours, double-checking several areas, but was not able to locate any signs of Daniel or his vehicle. 9 days later, his vehicle was found by a rancher 3.5 miles from his from his job site. So you're telling me that these planes and the police officers flew around, didn't see anything, but his vehicle was 3.5 miles from his job site in a ravine. So do we think that he actually wrecked there and everyone missed it all this time? Or do we think that it was placed there later? One thing that's not in the report is that the rancher that found the vehicle said that he didn't think it was there a few days earlier. He drives that property all the time, that location. He has cattle in that area. He also said that the cattle are very curious and the cattle would have licked the vehicle. There would be cattle footprints and droppings from the cattle all around the vehicle, and they probably wouldn't have left the vehicle for days because they're curious about things. That's not in the police report. You know, it's not in the police report. So I don't know if the vehicle was put there later or did everyone just miss it for 3 weeks? I don't know. It does say the law enforcement contacted all the mental health facilities in the area and that he was not listed as a patient at any of the local mental health facilities. He does say because this is not a criminal investigation at this time, he cannot obtain warrants for things. So he was having the family try to get his bank records, but there's been no bank activity since he left. So there's some redacted things here, and it says I received a message from David with screenshots of Daniel's whatever bank accounts, and it says the following may be of value, and that stuff is redacted. We can't see it. But they talk about something about his apartment off via the I-10. It was later learned that Daniel told his sister Davisha that he had went to Waffle House on 6/22. So that was the day before he went missing. Remember that, Waffle House. We're going to come back to that. On July 19th, the rancher, Mark so-and-so, a local rancher, said that he had found a Jeep Renegade, he believes belonging to Daniel, gave the license plate number and said there was no one in the vehicle. Law enforcement gets out there and observes the vehicle. On its passenger side, the GPS coordinates were noted. The vehicle was facing northwest. The vehicle had significant damage and appeared to have had front impact with the dirt and rolled before resting on the passenger side. One piece of the Jeep's black removable roof was on the ground, partially wedged under the front of the Jeep. The driver's front window was shattered, and I located glass on the ground consistent with the Jeep rolling one time. There was also subterranean damage to the lower front end and damage to the top of the windshield and the roof. All of the interior airbags appear to have been deployed. His jeans were there inside out, 2 brown work boots, a faded orange vest with the company logo, a t-shirt, and 2 socks. The officer says he could see the outline of what appeared to be a wallet in the pocket of his jeans. The officer walked the same path to the vehicle, which somebody else had walked, and did not observe any person inside the vehicle. The vehicle, something relatively clean on the outside, but there had been 3 or more big rains in this area since Daniel went missing. That was another hindrance in the search for Daniel, was the hard rains that we had. There was evidence of rain damage inside of the Jeep and a hard hat inside filled with rainwater. They located Daniel's Samsung Galaxy S10 cell phone, the apartment keys, a backpack with Daniel's work laptop and other documents. There were also miscellaneous items inside the car, clothing, a basketball, unopened water bottles, and other items. I did not observe any blood or other evidence of an injury despite the substantial damage to the vehicle. I checked the area and did not observe any indication that Daniel spent a considerable amount of time in the vehicle. There were no empty water bottles or other items that other than his clothing in the area. So that's another thing. I mean, it's weird that my spirit session said bare footprint, and here all of his clothes were found at his vehicle. So this is interesting too. It says the vehicle, detectives believe that Daniel's vehicle left the dirt roadway where it ended up south of his job site near an open dirt area and proceeded up the hillside. It appeared that he drove over several bushes before ending up in the ravine. The vehicle was still in drive when it was found. So if you remember us talking about this before, David Robinson said there was an 11-mile difference, GPS or mileage difference somehow, from where the crash scene was to how far the Jeep had actually driven. Is it possible, if the vehicle was still in drive when it was found, that the wheels would have still been rotating? I suppose that's possible. That could have added 11 more miles because it's off somehow. Because the private investigator for the family seems to feel like the vehicle was driven 11 miles after the first initial crash, that there was more than one crash site. So I don't know, you guys. Daniel's cell phone was dead. I removed it and the keys along with his backpack from the vehicle. Then I located his wallet with IDs, multiple debit and credit cards inside the jeans. There was no cash in the wallet. Should be noted that detectives and other searchers encountered one mountain lion in the area. So that's a possibility too, I suppose. If he walked off naked into the desert, did a mountain lion get him? I don't know. They did not find any evidence that indicated Daniel had been attacked or encountered by the animal. We know where that mountain lion den is too, out here. Officer Price was able to download the crash data from the vehicle's black box. He advised me that the Jeep did not record the date and time of the event crash, but the vehicle was going about 30 miles an hour at the time of the airbags deployed. What is the purpose of a black box if it's not recording the date and time of the crash? They know it was going 30 miles an hour at the time the airbags were deployed. I've driven out here. I've driven in that area. 30 miles an hour when the airbags were deployed is super fast, you guys, right there. That's super fast on that windy, hilly, steep roads. So here again, we start with some more discrepancies. Here it says that the driver's seatbelt was buckled at the time of the crash. Later, we're going to read that it was unbuckled, but it was still out, locked in the out position. In other words, it was still all the way out like it was buckled, but it wasn't buckled. But here it says it's buckled. So again, there's difference of information. This driver's seatbelt was buckled at the time of the crash. They said it was still buckled. I guess, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to look into that. The odometer reading at the time of the crash was 58,154 miles. The report indicated that the airbag light was not illuminated at the time of the crash. Why would the airbag light not be illuminated at the time of the crash if the airbags were out? I don't know. So they did figure out from Daniel's bank records that the family received that he stopped at a Shell station that morning. Shell station is at 1520 North Verrata Way. It's right off the I-10. It's about 35-40 minutes away from his apartment. So apparently that well site out there wasn't the first place he stopped that morning. He stopped at a Shell station and apparently another job site before he got over there. The other job site was just south of I-10. It says a photo in Daniel's cell phone places him at a job site on Verrata Way, south of I-10, after something, the Shell station. Google indicates it's 1.1 miles. Okay. So it says this is consistent with Daniel leaving the Shell station and going directly to the site on Verrata Way where he took photos of work logos. So he went to a Shell station. He stopped at another job site. He took pictures of work logos before he headed to this job site and was out there at 9:30 at the other job site out in Buckeye. So it talks about the odometer readings here and the mileage differences. The mileage was captured at 58,129.90, and it was captured again 3 hours later, 58,153. The difference in the time, the difference in time and distance between the last two odometer readings is 23.6 miles with 4 hours of time passing. So from 9:06 a.m. to 12:54, there's 23.6 miles with 4 hours of time passing. Based on this information, it is unclear where Daniel went between the Verrata job site and the Sun Valley Parkway job site. Did he go somewhere else? It is also unclear where he went between leaving the Sun Valley Parkway job and the scene where his vehicle was located. Yeah, we don't know where he went in between there for sure. So I want to talk about one of Daniel's other coworkers, if I can find it. Oh, so remember I said keep Waffle House on the board? By the way, it does say that the vehicle was dusted for fingerprints and swabbed for DNA evidence. We don't know what the results of that were. Was it only Daniel's DNA in the vehicle? Was it only Daniel's fingerprints in the vehicle? Will they even check it because they don't have a warrant? What happened to this information? The vehicle was dusted for fingerprints and swabbed for DNA evidence. So we don't know what the outcome of that was. Right? We don't know. Daniel's sister Davisha had previously stated to me that Daniel told her he went to Waffle House on 6/22, day before he went missing. This was in the afternoon and during the time when he had left the apartment after texting Davisha he had an emergency. So he texted his sister something about an emergency and never texted her back on the 22nd. Davisha explained to me that Daniel returned to his apartment that evening around 19:30 hours, and he was wearing blue jeans and a navy blue work shirt. So I don't understand that either. Daniel's sister Davisha stated that Daniel told her he went to Waffle House, but Davisha explained to me that when Daniel returned to his apartment that evening at 19:30 hours, he was wearing blue jeans and his navy blue work polo shirt. How does she know that? I don't understand how she knows that. If he texted her and said he was going to Waffle House and something about an emergency and he never texted her back, how would she know what he was wearing that night when he got home from Waffle House? I don't get it. This police officer goes to the Waffle House, makes contact with the manager, Matthew. Matthew allowed me in the back to review surveillance video. Matthew's system did not retain the transaction information for Daniel's purchase. I reviewed Daniel arriving at the Waffle House at 6:22 the day before he went missing at 18:02 hours. That's about 6 o'clock p.m. here. Wearing the clothing that Davisha had described. Daniel was alone and arrived on foot. Daniel sat near the jukebox until about 18:27 when he was then seated in a booth by the server Madison. Daniel was alone the entire time. After eating his food, Daniel went to the register and paid his bill. He then returned to his booth, packed up his food in a to-go box, and at about 19:10, Daniel leaves the restaurant with his food and walks out of view into out of the parking lot. Madison says that she remembered Daniel was skittish, and when she tried to engage him in conversation, he didn't talk to her. This is the waitress at Waffle House. I asked her if he was skittish like a nervous guy talking to a girl. Madison couldn't explain it. She just said that he seemed out of it and off. Madison also advised that she had seen him in the restaurant on previous occasions. While she didn't really know him, she was able to say that his demeanor on that day was different, the day before he went missing, right? Michelle, thank you for the PayPal. I just saw my notification come over. Thank you so much for that $20 donation. It's super needed right now. Thank you. It's very gracious of you. I appreciate it. So now we're going back to bank statements that they've started to collect. This is kind of odd too, because they're talking about the Shell station near his first work site. However, they've redacted the address here, so I don't know if it's the one on Barada Way or if it's the other one. There's another one north of the job site he disappeared from. But it said he did go to this Shell station. They had him on video surveillance. He did pull into pump number 4, and he got $3.83 worth of fuel. So that's weird to me too. $3.83 worth of fuel in a Jeep. Here right now in Arizona, it's about $3.83 a gallon. So he got 1 gallon of fuel. Did he actually put it in the Jeep or put it into a gas can? I mean, honestly, what would be the point of getting $3.83 worth of fuel? I don't understand. Wow. $3.83. I don't know what to think about that. Yeah, I don't know what to think about that. This is the private investigator talking about the crash and things. But there's something more important I wanted to show you guys. So apparently there's a guy named Roger that's also a co-worker of Daniel's. The police officer contacts Roger. Roger has no criminal history. It appears that Roger and Daniel had been texting each other quite frequently for the couple of months before his disappearance. A couple months prior to his disappearance. That's interesting too because, well, I'll tell you why in a minute. Roger has no criminal history. They've been texting each other for the last couple months prior to his disappearance. Based on the text messages, Roger was giving Daniel advice on building a gaming computer. He was also guiding him on what parts to buy, which may explain some of Daniel's recent spending habits. Because we all know that's a little expensive, right? Daniel and Roger talked a lot about NBA basketball. And we're getting to another important part here, you guys. Roger did try to text Daniel after he'd been reported missing. Daniel never answered him. Roger expressed concern for Daniel and said if he needed to talk or wanted to go for a drive, he was there for him. That's what he texted him. Never heard from Daniel. Later in the evening, Roger texted Daniel and said he's at his apartment and he's worried about him since he hadn't heard from him, right? Roger explained that he met Daniel when he first moved to Phoenix and started at, I don't know if that's the same place they work now, Matrix New World, I don't know. Roger explained that he met Daniel when he first moved to Phoenix and started at so-and-so. Daniel explained that he had been staying in a hostel. So Daniel was staying in a hostel and was saving up money to find a place. So who knew Daniel was staying in a hostel when he first moved here? And it doesn't say what date he actually met Daniel, right? Because I've seen where Daniel's job said he's been there about 2 years. And in this report, it said he'd been there about a year. So I don't even know how long he was at his job. But Daniel said that he'd been staying at a hostel and was saving up money to find a place. A few days later, Roger offered Daniel a room at his house with his girlfriend. Daniel accepted and moved in with his few belongings. Daniel stayed with Roger for about a month, and he said they became friends and carpooled to work. After Daniel moved into his own apartment, they would meet up for beers and watch basketball. Roger explained that Daniel is a field person and he wouldn't see him in the office too often where Roger worked. Well, that's weird too. Why would you carpool to work if Daniel works in the field and you work in the office and you hardly ever see him? So I don't understand that. I'm just saying I have lots of questions. I talked to Roger about the content of some of their text messages and asked if he was helping him build a computer. Roger said yes, and explained that he intended to help Daniel in person, but Daniel spent a lot of money buying computer parts recently, and he gave him instructions for how to set it all up. Here's what's weird. This is the most important part, and Roger came into the office on 6/21. This is 2 days before Daniel went missing, and sees Daniel in the office, which was unusual since he comes in so rarely. So again, why would they carpool to work if that's the case? Roger said that Daniel looked very different and said he had cut his hair off, which shocked him since Daniel wanted to grow his hair out. Make note of that. Put that on the board. Roger said Daniel looked very different, said he had cut all his hair off, which shocked him since Daniel wanted to grow his hair out. Roger said that when he talked to Daniel, his reaction time to him was very dry. His reaction to him was very dry. He asked Daniel if everything is okay, and he didn't have much to say, which was also unusual. Roger said something's up with Daniel. Something's not right. I need to talk to him. Roger then asked Daniel if he wanted to get breakfast, again 2 days before he went missing, to which Daniel said no. Roger went back to his desk, and Daniel texted him. Then Daniel texted him asking if he wanted to get breakfast. Said they did find this message in Daniel's phone. He said that he and Daniel take Roger's truck to get breakfast at Chick-fil-A. Roger said that he asked Daniel again if he was okay, but Daniel didn't tell him yet what was bothering him. When they got to Chick-fil-A, Roger asked Daniel what he wanted, and Daniel told him whatever you're getting. Roger said this is also odd because Daniel usually wanted the spicy chicken nuggets. After getting food, Roger asked Daniel if there was a problem with a girl. The answer evolved to there was a girl that he knew, but the girl didn't know he existed. Daniel continued to ask odd questions, which didn't make a lot of sense to him. Like what? Like what? Daniel continued to ask odd questions, which didn't make a lot of sense. Like what? Doesn't even say. Says Daniel asked Roger if he believed in miracles, and Daniel told him maybe he should start believing in miracles. So Roger just lost his father. He was on the phone with his sister, and after they got off their phone conversation, Daniel asked his friend if he believed in miracles. Daniel told him he should start believing in miracles. Roger said that Daniel then mentioned something about God or religion. Roger said he was taken aback by Daniel's questioning because Daniel had never really expressed any religious views to him before. Daniel asked Roger if he trusted him, and when Roger said yes, Daniel challenged him about whether he trusted him. But Roger said, yeah, I trust you because we're friends. Then Daniel said, what if we weren't friends? What if we weren't friends? Would you trust me then? Daniel then said something to Roger about getting rid of his ego because ego is bad. Roger told Daniel he saw him as confident but not egotistical. Daniel then said, well, I have to get rid of my story. Daniel said, I have to get rid of my story. Roger was confused by this since Daniel was proud of who he was and where he came from. Which takes me back to what the heck was in that podcast he listened to. Shaved his head. Is he talking about changing his story here, rewriting his story, get rid of his story? Something happened. I really need to know what was in that podcast. You super sleuthers out there. Roger said when they went back to the office, he saw Daniel walk by wearing his Miami Heat helmet hat, which Daniel loved. Daniel told him he should probably get rid of it. Daniel told him he should probably get rid of it, and Roger told him that was silly. Why wouldn't you keep it? So Daniel's talking about getting rid of things he loves. He's talking about rewriting his story. Shaved his head. Keep talking about how this podcast changed his life. A short time later, Daniel left the office carrying a box and did not say goodbye to Roger. When Roger comes into the office on 622, Daniel is there again. Daniel asked Roger to go to breakfast. They left the office in Daniel's Jeep. He described that there was dirt and tools in the front seat that had to be moved to the back. Roger said they drove around, and Daniel acknowledged there was a girl, but didn't give up much info. Daniel asked Roger, what if there was a girl you liked, but you couldn't have? Huh. It's the story of our lives, right? Having someone you can't have. Roger gave Daniel advice if he wanted to ask a girl out, then go for it. Daniel then talked more about the ego and similar questions to the day before. Again, what questions? Roger explained that Daniel didn't really give up what was bothering him. He said it seemed like Daniel thought he had to completely change himself to be with whoever this girl was. It seemed like Daniel had to completely change himself to be with whoever this girl was. When they went back to the office, Daniel stayed for about 15 minutes and left without talking to Roger anymore. So, again, talking about the vehicle, the reason I'm bringing a lot of this up right this minute, let me get rid of this. I want to talk to you guys for a second. Caitlin called him. That's where did someone meet him at her house? See, I don't know. There's just missing stuff in the story. We don't know what questions he was asking Roger. We don't know what was actually happened between Caitlin and Daniel. I believe the brother and friend called and set him up. Well, if that was the case, I guess we wouldn't know yet because the police haven't been able to get a warrant to get all the text messages, right? Because there's no foul play involved. So the only text messages that they're receiving, right, I guess, is what people are sending them, the police, right? From what I understand. Sounds like a setup for sure. I don't know, I don't know. Is it a setup? Or did he just, something in this podcast was life-changing for him? Right? Tammy Fraser definitely sounds religious, right? Does to me too, kind of, honestly. The police said 11 miles more and ignition have been turned off. Well, it did say 11 miles more, but it also said the vehicle was found in drive on its side. So that means the tires could have continued to rotate, right? The PI said that's a possibility. You would think there'd have been some blood in the vehicle somewhere. I mean, they said they swabbed for fingerprints and DNA and whatnot. I mean, all that crashing at 30 miles an hour and there was not a drop of blood in there. Is that even possible? I believe he's Christian. I feel like he had a major episode and may have walked into the floods. Yes, the searchers, the day that when we started looking for him, the Hassayampa River was flowing. It was deep and fast. Right now it's dry. The searchers did find a skull out in that area. Happened to be not Daniel. They also found bones of a female out in this area, which are obviously not Daniel. So the searchers for David Robinson have found 2 bodies in this area so far, but not Daniel. Could he have just deliberately walked away from life and everything and then got into trouble? Well, maybe. The police have told David Robinson that they believe that he joined a monastery. Said, we're not looking for your son anymore. He left on his own accord and joined a monastery. Why would they think that? Why would they think that? I mean, I guess I can see kind of why they would think that. Here it says, talking about monasteries, shaving our heads symbolizes cutting off confusion, hostility, and attachment. What the Buddha called the 3 poisonous attitudes. Remember Daniel was talking about his ego? These three mental toxin poisons of our well-being and our relationships with others. Confusion makes us ignorant about the causes of happiness and the causes of suffering. Hostility and anger ruin our relationships with others, especially with those we care about the most. Attachment clings to people, things, places, and ideas with the mistaken notion they will make us happy. Cutting off these three elements, cutting off these three elements, the causes of our misery, it also frees us to direct our energy into cultivating love, compassion, joy, and wisdom in our hearts. So that's one of the first things you do, apparently, when you become a monk, right? Shave your head. Shave your head. That's what I'm wondering. I really need to know what the podcast was. What was this podcast about? The father don't believe they did a search because they would have found the Jeep if they did. Well, that's true. The father was out there the day that they had planes flying and cops out there. They just wouldn't let him go with them to search. He had to wait out by the road while they went and did a search. But I mean, I feel like his Jeep being within a 4-mile radius of his work would have been something that the planes or drones or dogs or something could have seen. Now, there was a lot of rain, so of course it washes away footprints. The dogs probably, would have had a hard time trying to follow any tracks. But the other thing, let's see. What's the other thing that's required when you become a monk or if you join a monastery? Right? You have to shave your head. What else do they require? These are different monasteries. Different monasteries are a little bit different, whether it's Catholic or Buddhist But this says Benedict does not stop monks owning just land and buildings as property. Benedict believes the monks should own nothing. He says that after they give up their land, each monk will be divested of his own clothing and dressed in the clothing of the monastery. This only means the clothes are taken away and stored at the monastery for now. But this particular monastery is very strict about monks not having their own personal property. Right here. Very strict about monks not having their own personal property. In chapter 55, it says beds, moreover, are to be examined frequently by the abbot to see if any private property is to be found. The only place a monk could hide their things is in their beds because they do not have private rooms. Benedict says, if a monk is found with something they did not receive by the abbot, then let him undergo the most severe discipline. Benedict does not see the monks hiding personal possessions as them being selfish or greedy. He sees it as being something much worse. He calls this a hiding of something from the abbot of vice. That means it's another level of selfish or greedy. So Benedict sees a monk having personal possessions as an addiction. You are not allowed to have any personal possessions. In fact, Benedict says this is because the monks are not permitted to have even their bodies or wills at their own disposal, let alone a pen or a book. Right? You're stripped of everything. So he left all his possessions behind, right? Left all his possessions behind, shaved his head, started talking about God and religion, changing his ego, rewriting his story. I agree, and Daniel could have done that himself, right? He could have already had somebody waiting to give him a ride. Of course, it could have been foul play as well. I'm just reading through your comments. Yeah, I don't know what to think about this, you guys. I mean, a monastery. I've been looking up things about monasteries, here. It also says you're not allowed to have a paying job if you're in a monastery. No job, no possessions. See what else it says about becoming a monk. This is just general information. I'm not going by one specific place here because I don't know which place to look at. Let's share this. Can a monk see their family? Monks in practical reality do in fact go back and visit family and attend funerals, etc. But when you're a monk, a central theme is to let go of attachment. Family is a form of that and is a distraction to what you're doing as a monk. So possessions are not allowed. Family's a distraction. Have to shave your head. Who would give a naked guy a ride? We don't know if he got redressed. I mean, the police officer said there were other clothes in his vehicle as well as the clothes that were found outside of his vehicle. So we don't know. We don't know. And we still don't know if he was set up. If something happened to him. Did he leave on his own accord? Did he start getting curious about living a different life? About rewriting his story? I don't know. These are all the monasteries near where he went missing. All different kinds. Some are like Cambodian, Buddhist. Some are Catholic. Yeah, but again, you're not allowed to have clothes. You're not allowed to have hair. Some places you have to go through certain things before you can even talk to family. And apparently some places think family's just a distraction. Daniel's Jeep was found out here, right about in here. So I don't know, guys. I really don't know what to think. I don't know. I don't know. American Meteorite Fan, maybe he saw this as rewriting a story, but wouldn't he proudly announce it? No. Maybe not. Do you guys remember Madison Bell? The Madison Bell case? The young girl, they found her car in a church parking lot with the keys still in there. Her purse was in there, cell phone was in there, and she was just gone. Remember they found her later on? She left state with some guy. Didn't want to talk to her family anymore. It happens all the time. Happens all the time. Yeah, I just don't know what to think, guys. I'm reading through your comments. I mean, he may not be in a monastery here. Maybe it's in California. Maybe, who knows? Who knows? I just don't know what to think. You know, I know I'm tired of going out to the desert looking for him every weekend. I'm not ready to give up. But the searchers and, you know, all the drone pilots like us, we've been taking drone shots. We've just about cleared that area. I mean, we found 2 other people and not him. Like, I don't know. I don't know where he could be, honestly. You are not hidden. If you guys have any information about Daniel, please go to searchfordaniel.com. Actually, it's pleasehelpfinddaniel.com. Pleasehelpfinddaniel.com. There is a petition here. Most of you, I think, have already signed it. I put it on my community page, and we had a really great result. And there's always ongoing searches. So if you live out here in the Arizona area, you're near Buckeye or can get to Buckeye, if you have a 4-wheel drive, ATV, drones, dogs, we still need the mines searched. We still need the well site searched, the actual well itself. They need searched. Seems to me if the police came asking, they'd at least say they're there and okay. Well, that's another thing about a monastery. They change your name. Most of the time they change your name. I would call the monastery, but what if they've changed his name? They won't even recognize, or I don't know, his old name, Daniel Robinson. If he has a new name, if somebody calls there looking for someone with his old name, I don't know. If he's in a Buddhist place, they're taught meditation. You can talk to his spirit if you get him in that state. I did do a spirit session. Like I said, someone doesn't have to be dead. I've talked to 2 people that were in a coma. One of them is Lane, my boyfriend. The other one was a kid named Brian. It was a coworker's brother in California that was in a coma from a heroin overdose. If you guys haven't seen that, you should check it out, because I didn't know it was a heroin overdose, but still did the session, still with him in a coma, and we got amazing information. When he woke up, he actually told his sister, "What were you and your friends trying to do?" He literally remembered parts of the conversation. I was here at my house. I never went to California. It's pretty strange how that works. So yeah, I don't know. Oh, Tracy, thank you. He's awake now. His name's Lane. He was actually here in the chat earlier. He's a moderator, Chris Lane Novinger. He's the one that we go out every weekend looking for Daniel droning. In fact, he has a YouTube channel, Chris Lane Novinger. He's got lots of drone footage from our searches for Daniel that I just don't put up on my site. Yeah, I don't know, you guys. I just wanted to go over that a little bit with you. Maybe I'll try another session, being that I talk to his dad all the time and I help with the searches. I know his father doesn't believe in contacting a psychic or a medium. And, you know, I want to do what his father wants me to do. If his father and the private investigator think that we need to go in a particular direction or look at certain things, I'm not opposed to that. Thank you, Angie Shea. Please helpfinddaniel.com. Yes, you are still here. Chris was in a coma for 4 months after a car accident. He currently has 17 broken bones that never were fixed. And he's a walking miracle for sure. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for all your help. Yeah, that was a tough time, that's for sure. Tammy, I asked if I could be a sitter for Donna. She's working on so many cases. She just really wants somebody from the family to sit. And I literally like almost begged her because I said, I'm tired. I'm old. I can't walk in the desert all the time. And I just need a little help or guidance. And, she said, I will if David reaches out. And, that's that. She's got so much going on. She doesn't like to do these criminal cases, guys. Reverend Donna Serafina, her thing is loving, comforting messages from heaven, and it literally makes her physically ill to do these crime cases. And me too sometimes. So I get it for sure. That's a good question, Kat. Devisha, I've seen her on Facebook, and I thought about reaching out to her on Facebook to see if she would. But she probably doesn't want her dad mad at her. My dad doesn't like what I do either. And I don't talk to him about it. So my dad's a preacher's son. So I get it. It's just too bad. Yeah, I agree, Ra. I've watched your channel, and I get such severe migraines. I've been to urgent care in the last, few weeks for really horrible migraines. And sometimes I just need a break. I can't continue to do negative session after session after session like that. I'm learning. And especially after talking to Reverend Donna. Yeah. I did start a second channel. It's called Radar. The link should be in my community tab description. And just so I can talk or do or film other things besides these horrible, negative, sad cases. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. I sure appreciate you. I probably better go finish my laundry. Got to dye my hair. It's turning orange. Can't have that. Got to dye it red again. But I sure appreciate all of you guys, and keep praying for Daniel. Yes, Tracy, I would actually like to have a conversation about this on my other channel, Radar, because on anything, I talk about anything on that channel, anything that comes on my radar, and migraines are one of them. Another thing that I found is that I may be very low on vitamin B12 and B10, vitamin B12 and D vitamins, and that can also contribute to migraines. Angie Shea, thank you. I appreciate that. I haven't done any content over there yet, but I'm going to. I actually took some time yesterday with Chris and my parents and went to an air show in Buckeye, Arizona. Went and tooled around a little bit. It's nice to see my parents. They're in their 80s, and I don't know how many more air shows I'll get to go to with them. So it was nice to spend the day yesterday. You got your vitamin D up and your migraine stopped? See? Yeah, there's something to it. I have about 2 more weeks, and I have an appointment with the doctor to do some blood work. So maybe we can figure out something. Hypohembolytic migraines that cause stroke symptoms. See, I sometimes feel like I'm going to have a stroke. I've had them since I was a kid, since I was about 4, but I've been doing almost 28 years of Imitrex injections, and now it's taking a toll on my liver. So I just don't know what else to do. It's they're bad. I get them every day. So yeah, maybe that'll be the first thing we'll talk about on my Radar channel. Talk about migraines and people's thoughts and feelings about how to cope with them and what they do to not have them. I need some advice for sure. 13 years for Imitrex. Yeah, it's just, Imitrex is hard on your liver. Menopause cured your migraines, and menopause seems to have making mine 10 times worse. 10 times worse. At least when I had my cycle, after my cycle was over, I'd be relieved for 3 weeks and then have one bad week and then 3 good weeks. And now it's just every day is terrible. Don't tell that to Chris. That's what he tells me all the time. Yeah. Oh, CBD. Chris just saw your comment. He's screaming and yelling out there. I told a friend about she researched and never wanted a high and migraines very bad. She no longer goes to the doc. Wow. I tried CBD. I mean, I tried like cream you rub on your temples and pills and God, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, menopause seems to have, taken things a turn for the worst for sure in every aspect as far as feeling good. Well, I guess I better go finish my laundry, guys. I appreciate you being here. I will do another spirit session soon. I will put up on my community tab later for members only. We will do a live spirit box session next weekend, and I will put up a poll if that should be on Saturday or Sunday. So you guys can let me know what's better or what times are better. I'm not sure. So I'm going to try that, Cat. I'm going to try that for sure. I mean, I'll try anything. I'll stick needles in my eyes, at this point, if it would help me. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for being here. If you donated and I missed it, I'm sorry. Thank you to the 2 PayPal donations. Thank you to everybody. You guys are my friends. I appreciate you. To all my members, I will see you in the Earth Angels Clubhouse. And I will talk to you guys soon. Love you guys.